Hello there, and welcome to the Sleep Porch. Tonight, we're drifting into the quiet and surprising world of symbiosis, the hidden art of living together. It's a story happening all around you and even within you, though it often goes unnoticed. Symbiosis is how life learns to cooperate, to share, to adapt, and sometimes to transform entirely through connection. It's how tiny lives support giants, how fragile partnerships build vast ecosystems, and how survival itself can become a shared project. As we wander through this topic, you'll discover that nature is far less solitary than it appears. Every forest, reef, field, and body hums with relationships quietly shaping the world. Some are ancient, some are fleeting, and some blur the very idea of where one life ends and another begins. Symbiosis reminds us that life is not just about competition, but about collaboration unfolding over deep time. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, there's nothing you need to do but settle in. Let your breathing slow. Let your shoulders soften. Allow your thoughts to slow down as we explore this fascinating world together. Let's begin. Symbiosis can turn enemies into partners. Sometimes the most dramatic twist in nature is not a chase, but a truce. Symbiosis emerges when two different lives stop trying to survive alone and begin solving challenges together. A predator can shift into a guardian. A stranger can become indispensable. Over time, these alliances can reshape bodies, behaviors, and entire ecosystems because they open pathways that simple competition never could. When one partner locates food, the other may provide shelter. When one detects danger, the other might offer escape. That ongoing exchange creates new possibilities, and new possibilities give rise to new futures. It is one reason life can expand into harsh deserts, deep oceans, and nutrient-poor soils. Symbiosis is not always gentle, and it is rarely perfectly balanced, but it is undeniably powerful. It transforms survival into a shared endeavor, and that shared endeavor can guide evolution in unexpected directions. Cleaner fish operate reef clinics, removing parasites from larger clients. On a busy reef, you can witness a curious kind of appointment system. Bigger fish approach a specific spot, slow their movement, and hold themselves unnaturally still, sometimes even opening their mouths wide. They are not hunting, they are asking for help. Cleaner fish, and sometimes cleaner shrimp, move in like tiny surgeons, picking parasites, dead tissue, and irritating bits from gills, skin, and teeth. The client gets relief and better health. The cleaner gets a steady meal, earned not by chasing, but by trust. What makes this feel almost unbelievable is the restraint involved. A hungry predator could swallow the cleaner in one snap, yet the routine often holds. Reefs develop recognizable cleaning stations where different species line up, wait, and take turns. It is cooperation made visible, a living reminder that even in the world of teeth and speed, there can be rules, roles, and a kind of underwater etiquette. Your body is a walking symbiosis with microbes shaping digestion and immunity. You are not a solo creature marching through the world. You are a habitat in your gut, on your skin, and along your airways. Countless microbes help you do everyday things that would otherwise be harder or even impossible. Some specialize in breaking down fibers your own enzymes cannot handle, turning leftovers into useful nutrients. Others help make particular vitamins or produce molecules that calm inflammation. In the background, your immune system learns which signals mean danger and which are harmless, partly by living beside these constant guests. When that community shifts, your body can feel it. Appetite, energy, and even how you respond to infections may change. This is why a meal, a stress-filled week, or a course of antibiotics can ripple outward in ways that seem unrelated. You are an ecosystem with a heartbeat, and your health is shaped by countless quiet relationships. Some animals steal photosynthesis, turning algae into living solar panels. Imagine being an animal that can, in a way, borrow sunlight. In certain partnerships, an animal takes in algae and keeps them alive inside its body. Like tiny roommates that pay rent in sugar, the algae do what they have always done, capturing light and making food. But now the food flows into a creature that cannot photosynthesize on its own. This can change how that animal survives lean times. It may still need to eat, but it can stretch a meal further, like carrying a lunchbox that refills slowly whenever the sun is out. It also changes how the animal behaves, because light becomes a resource worth seeking, not just warmth. These relationships are delicate. The host must avoid digesting its guests, and the guests must tolerate life in a new home. Yet, when it works, it feels almost like a science fiction trick, performed quietly in tight pools and coastal shallows. A single partnership can create a brand new kind of organism. There are moments in life's history when two beings do not just cooperate, they merge into something that behaves like one. This is not a metaphor. In the deep past, certain cells took in other cells and instead of destroying them, kept them. The guests became permanent helpers, handling essential jobs inside their host. Over generations, the partnership tightened until the two could no longer live separately. It changed what a cell could do, how much energy it could access, and how complex it could become. That kind of merger can be an evolutionary shortcut. Rather than slowly inventing a new ability from scratch, a host gains it by welcoming a specialist already built for the task. It is one of the reasons complex life could rise at all, because complexity demands energy and coordination. Symbiosis can be a ladder, and sometimes the ladder becomes part of the body climbing it. Coral reefs exist because tiny algae share their sugar with coral. A coral reef can look like stone, but it is built by living animals, and those animals are powered by an internal partnership. Many corals host microscopic algae within their tissues. In bright, clear water, the algae capture sunlight and make energy-rich sugars. A large share of that food is handed over to the coral, fueling growth and helping it build the hard skeleton that forms the reef's architecture. In return, the algae get a safe place to live and access to the coral's waste products, which become useful raw materials. This is why reefs thrive in waters that are often surprisingly low in nutrients. The partnership is like running a city on an invisible soma grid, but it is also sensitive. Heat stress can disrupt the relationship, and when the algae leave, the coral loses both color and a major food source. The reef's beauty is, at its core, a fragile agreement. Lichens are two life forms fused into one tough, world-viewing team.
On a bare rock face where wind scrapes and water comes and goes, you can find lichens quietly doing the work of pioneers. A lichen is not a single organism. It is a partnership, usually between a fungus and a photosynthetic partner, such as algae or cyanobacteria. The fungus builds the structure holding moisture, gripping surfaces and shielding the inner layers from harsh conditions.
The photosynthetic partner makes food from light, feeding the whole arrangement. Together, they can live when neither could flourish alone. Over time, they help break down rock into the first hints of soil, trapping dust and adding organic matter. They can also survive long, dry spells, then wake again when rain returns. Lichens are slow, patient builders, making new habitats inch by inch. When you see them, you are looking at teamwork hardened into a form that can endure extremes and quietly prepare the way for forests and meadows. Plants can outsource nitrogen making to bacteria living in root nodules. Nitrogen is everywhere in the air, yet most plants cannot use it in that form. It is like being surrounded by a locked pantry. Some plants solve this by partnering with bacteria that can unlock it. In the roots of legumes, specialized structures called nodules become safe homes for nitrogen-fixing bacteria. The plant supplies sugars and a protected environment. The bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms the plant can use to build proteins and grow. This can transform poor soil into a place where greenery thrives. It also changes the neighborhood because some of that nitrogen eventually enters the surrounding ground, benefiting other plants that did not pay for the service. The partnership has to be carefully managed. Too much oxygen can disrupt the chemistry the bacteria rely on. So the plant regulates conditions inside the nodule, like a careful host. It is a quiet bargain beneath your feet, and it helps explain why peas and beans have mattered to ecosystems and agriculture for so long. Some relationships shift from helpful to harmful when conditions change. A partnership in nature is not always a love story. Often, it is a deal that works only under certain rules. When the environment changes, the balance can tip, and a once helpful partner can become a burden. A microbe that peacefully lives on a body surface may cause trouble if it enters a different tissue. A plant ally that supplies nutrients might demand more sugar when light is scarce, leaving its host short on energy. Even with stable relationships, stress can amplify conflict. Heat, drought, or a lack of food can turn cooperation into competition over the same limited resources. This is one reason biologists sometimes describe symbiosis as a spectrum rather than a single category. It can slide between mutual benefit, one-sided benefit, and harm. The surprising part is not that relationships can break, but that so many hold together at all. Nature is constantly renegotiating, and symbiosis is one of its most flexible contracts. Symbiosis can let creatures survive where neither partner could alone. Some of the most extreme habitats on Earth are not conquered by lone heroes, but by teams. In the deep ocean, where some might never reach us, certain animals survive because they host bacteria that can make food from chemicals rising from the sea floor. The animal provides a stable home and access to those chemicals. The bacteria do the work of building sugars and other nutrients, turning an inhospitable place into a living pantry. This kind of partnership can create whole communities in darkness, supporting worms, clams, and other creatures that would otherwise starve.
On land, similar teamwork helps life persist in places with poor soil or brutal climates, where one partner can gather water, another can capture energy, and another can unlock nutrients. Symbiosis is a way of combining talents across species, like assembling a survival kit from different specialties. It expands the map of where life can exist, and it proves that collaboration can be as powerful as adaptation. The line between one organism and many can blur through symbiosis. We like neat categories.
One body, one creature, one name. Symbiosis refuses to stay neat. When partners live together long enough, they can become so interwoven that separation is no longer possible or no longer meaningful. Some hosts build special organs just to house their partners. Some partners pass from parent to offspring, becoming part of a lineage, like inherited traits. In these cases, the partnership begins to act like a single unit, even though it is made of different living parts. This challenges what it means to be an individual. Is an animal defined only by its own cells, or also by the microbes that help it eat, defend itself, and develop normally? The question is not philosophical fluff. It changes how we understand health, evolution, and even identity. In biology, symbiosis suggests that life is often a chorus, not a solo, and that the self can be an ecosystem wearing one skin. Clownfish gain shelter in anemones, while anemones give cleaning and food. A sea anemone looks like a floating flower, but it is armed with stinging cells ready to paralyze prey. Most fish keep their distance, yet clownfish slip through the tentacles as if the danger switch is turned off. They do it by wearing a protective coating of mucus that helps them avoid triggering the sting. Once inside, the fish gains a fortress, a safe home in a neighborhood full of hungry mouths. The anemone benefits too. The fish chases away nibbling intruders, nips off bits of debris, and its waste provides valuable nutrients in nutrient-poor waters. Even the clownfish's constant movement can improve water flow around the anemone, like a gentle fan. It is a partnership built on trust and chemistry, and it turns a weaponized animal into a welcoming home. Oxpeckers pick ticks off large mammals, but sometimes peck wounds too. On the back of a buffalo or the flank of a rhino, an oxpecker can look like a helpful little assistant, hopping along and plucking ticks like snacks. That part is real. The bird can reduce the load of biting parasites, and it also acts as an early warning system, fluttering and calling when danger approaches. But this relationship has a sharper edge. Oxpeckers sometimes feed on blood by pecking at open sores, and they may keep wounds from healing as quickly because a fresh wound is a reliable food source. The large mammal may tolerate the bird, or it may try to shake it off, depending on how the balance feels that day. This is symbiosis with tension in it, a reminder that partnerships are not always pure generosity. Sometimes they hover between help and harm, constantly renegotiated on a living, breathing surface. Goby fish and shrimp share a burrow with a touch-based alarm system. Picture a small shrimp digging a tunnel under the sand, pushing out grains like a tireless miner. Now picture that shrimp with poor eyesight, working in a place where predators can strike in a flash. Enter the goby fish, a watchful partner that hovers near the entrance like a sentry. The shrimp keeps one antenna in contact with the goby's body, maintaining a constant line of communication through touch. If the goby senses danger, it flicks or darts, and the shrimp instantly retreats, sealing itself inside the burrow. In return, the GOI gets a safe home it could never build on its own. The beauty here is the division of labor. One partner is an engineer, the other is an alarm system. Together, they create a secure base in a shifting landscape, and their simple, tactile language turns a risky patch of sand into shared real estate. Ants protect acacia trees, and the trees feed and house the ants. Some acacia trees do not rely only on thorns to defend themselves. They hire an army. Certain species provide ants with hollow spines or swollen structures that work like ready-made apartments, safe from weather and many predators. The tree also offers food, including sugary nectar and nutrient-rich bits that ants can carry off like rations. In exchange, the ants patrol the branches with relentless energy. They swarm leaf-eating insects, chase off browsers that try to nibble, and can even clear away nearby plants that compete for light and space. It is a vivid example of a plant shaping animal behavior to solve a problem the plant cannot solve quickly on its own. The tree cannot run. The ants can. When the system is strong, the acacia becomes a guarded fortress with living security. And the ants become more than residents. They become the tree's behavior, acting out its defense in real time. Fig trees and fig wasps depend on each other to reproduce. A fig is not just a fruit, it is a hidden garden turned inward, with tiny flowers sealed inside a hollow structure. That design creates a problem because pollination has to happen behind closed doors. The solution is a wasp small enough to squeeze through a narrow opening. The female fig wasp enters, often losing her wings in the process, and pollinates the flowers within as she searches for a place to lay eggs. The fig provides a nursery and food for the developing young. When new wasps emerge, they carry pollen away to another fig, continuing the cycle. The partnership is intimate and astonishingly specific, with many fig species linked to particular wasp partners. If one disappears, the other may struggle to reproduce. This is not cooperation at arm's length. It is cooperation built into the architecture of reproduction itself, a locked room mystery solved by a single tiny key. Yucca moths pollinate yuccas, and their larvae eat some seeds. In many plants, pollination is an accidental favor from a visitor chasing nectar. In yuccas, it can be closer to a contract. Yucca moths deliberately gather pollen, roll it into a bowl, then fly to another flower and actively peck the pollen onto the stigma. This deliberate action helps make sure the plant seeds will develop. But the moth is not acting without return. After pollination, she lays her eggs inside the flower. When the larvae hatch, they consume a portion of the developing seeds. The plant does lose some seeds, yet it still gains overall, because the moth's precise pollination makes successful seed formation far more dependable than random visits ever could. Over time, the plant can even regulate how many larvae survive by aborting flowers that carry too many, preventing the moth from taking more than its share. It becomes a careful balance between offering and protecting, a partnership in which both sides hold leverage and both must remain within limits.
Leafcutter ants cultivate fungus, feeding it leaves like compost. Leafcutter ants resemble tiny gardeners marching with green flags held overhead. But the leaves are not meant for eating, they are meant for farming. Inside underground chambers, the ants chew leaf pieces into a pulp and use it to nourish a particular fungus they grow like a crop. The fungus breaks down the plant matter and produces nutritious structures the ants can consume, transforming tough leaves into a usable harvest. The colony becomes an agricultural machine, complete with workers that cut, transport, and tend. Some ants weed out contaminants, others remove waste to keep the garden healthy. There is even disease management because a fungal farm can be threatened by invading molds, and ants use behaviors and chemical defenses to protect their crop. This is farming without fields happening in darkness, run by insects with no individual plan, yet producing a stable food supply through collective care.
It is symbiosis scaled up into an entire civilization. Termites rely on gut partners to break down tough wood. A piece of wood looks like food, but for most animals, it is like chewing on a bookshelf. The main component, cellulose, is hard to break apart. Termites solve this not with stronger jaws alone, but with an internal community. Inside their guts live microbes, including protozoa and bacteria, that specialize in dismantling cellulose and fermenting it into usable energy. The termite provides a warm, steady environment and a constant supply of chewed wood. The microbes provide digestion that the termite cannot perform on its own. Some termites even share these partners through social feeding, passing the right microbes to young members, so the colony's digestive toolkit continues. This partnership helps explain why termites can thrive on a diet that seems impossibly barren, and why they play such a huge role in ecosystems, breaking down fallen trees and returning nutrients to the soil. A termite is small, but its symbiotic stomach is a powerful recycling plant. Ruminants depend on microbes to turn grass into usable energy. A cow in a pasture can look calm and slow, but inside it is a busy fermentation chamber. Ruminants, including cows, sheep, and deer, have a specialized stomach called the rumen, where microbes digest plant fibers that the animal itself cannot break down. Well, bacteria and other microorganisms ferment grasses and leaves, producing fatty acids that the animal absorbs as a major energy source. The animal, in turn, provides a warm, moist home and a steady stream of fresh plant material. This is why ruminants can thrive on foods that would leave many other animals hungry. The famous act of chewing cud is part of the system, letting the animal grind plant matter again and again, giving microbes more surface area to work on. It is a partnership that turns sunlight captured in grass into muscle, milk, and movement. When you watch a grazing herd, you are seeing symbiosis at the scale of landscapes. Vampire bats share blood meals, a social safety net for survival. A vampire bat's world runs on a risky schedule because a single missed meal can matter. Blood is nutritious, but it is not easy to secure night after night, and hunting can fail. In some colonies, that danger is softened by generosity that looks almost like a tiny welfare system. A bat that fed well may later regurgitate a portion of its meal to a hungry roost mate. This is not random charity. It often happens between individuals that have groomed each other, shared space, and built trust over time. In other words, relationships become a form of insurance. It is astonishing to think of an animal trading calories for connection. Yet it makes sense when tomorrow's hunger is always possible. The roost becomes more than a shelter. It becomes a network where survival can be shared and where cooperation can be as valuable as sharp teeth. Some aphids house bacteria that manufacture essential amino acids. An aphid can live on plant sap, which sounds like an endless drink of sweetness. But sap is missing key building blocks. Without those missing nutrients, growth and reproduction would stall. The solution is hidden inside the aphid's own body. Many aphids shelter specialized bacteria in dedicated cells, almost like tiny internal workshops. These bacteria produce essential amino acids the aphid cannot get from SAP alone. In return, the bacteria receive a protected home and a steady flow of raw materials. Over a long time, the partnership can become so tight that the bacteria lose the ability to live independently like craftsmen who forgot how to leave the factory. Even more striking, aphids can pass these helpers from mother to offspring, ensuring the next generation is born with its nutritional team already in place. A creature the size of a grain of rice becomes a carefully managed collaboration, built for a diet that would otherwise be incomplete. Deep-sea tube worms host bacteria that make food from chemicals. Far below the sunlit ocean, there are places where the seafloor leaks energy in an unexpected form. Not light, but chemistry, around hydrothermal vents. Giant tube worms can grow in dense clusters, even though they have no obvious way to eat. Their secret is that the real meal is made inside them. These worms host bacteria that use chemicals like hydrogen sulfide to build sugars, a process called chemosynthesis. The worm supplies the bacteria with a steady delivery system, including oxygen and the vent chemicals carried by a specialized blood chemistry. The bacteria, in turn, feed the worm from within. It is as if the worm is a living greenhouse, except the fuel is volcanic chemistry instead of sunshine. In the deep, where darkness never lifts, this partnership creates towering life from what looks like poison. And it reveals that food webs can begin in more than one way. Hydrothermal vent ecosystems can run on symbiosis without sunlight. If you imagine an ecosystem, you probably picture green plants catching sunlight. At hydrothermal vents, the script flips. Here, the foundation is built by microbes that treat chemical energy like a power source, turning it into food. Many of the larger animals are bound to these microbes through close partnerships, sometimes inside their bodies, sometimes coating surfaces like living paint. This is why vents can support bustling communities in the middle of the deep sea, with crabs, snails, and clams gathering around what looks like a smoky underwater chimney. The water can be hot, the chemicals can be harsh, and the environment can change quickly. Yet symbiosis makes it workable. The microbes act like chefs, converting raw chemical ingredients into meals. The animals act like homes and delivery systems, bringing the right compound to the right place. It is a reminder that sunlight is not the only engine of life, and that cooperation can build an oasis in permanent night. Giant clams host algae, turning their bodies into bright food factories. A giant clam can sit in clear tropical water, with its shell slightly open, showing off a rippling mantle that can look almost electric in color. That bright display is not just decoration. Inside the clam's tissues live microscopic algae that capture sunlight and make sugars. The clam positions itself like a living solar collector, giving its algae light and a steady supply of waste nutrients that the algae can use. In return, the clam receives energy-rich food
that helps it grow large and endure in waters where free nutrients are scarce. Some giant clams can become massive, yet they remain anchored in place, powered partly by their internal partners. The colors you see are shaped by the clam's tissues and by how they manage light, almost like a biological greenhouse design. It is a calm, slow partnership with big consequences, turning a stationary animal into a sun-driven food producer and making the reef feel like it has living batteries tucked into its stones. Bobtail squid use glowing bacteria for camouflage by moonlight. At night, a bobtail squid becomes a little magician of disguise. From below, predators can spot a silhouette against the faint glow of moonlight filtering down.
The squid solves this by making its underside shine, not with its own cells, but with resident bacteria living in a special light organ. This trick is called counter-illumination, and it works like matching the background brightness so the squid's shadow fades away. The bacteria gain a safe, nutrient-rich home. The squid gains stealth. What makes it even more mesmerizing is that the squid can control the light, adjusting it to the conditions, like a dimmer switch tuned to the sea. By day, it often hides buried in sand. By night, it moves with a soft, living lantern that helps it disappear rather than be seen. It is symbiosis used as a costume, and it turns survival into something almost theatrical, performed in the quiet blue dark. Hawaiian bobtail squid carefully garden their light-producing bacteria nightly. This partnership is not set and forget. A young squid must gather the right bacteria from seawater, and once the colony is established, the squid manages it with surprising discipline. Each day, it releases a large portion of the bacteria from its light organ, sending them back into the ocean. Then, as night returns, the remaining bacteria multiply again, rebuilding the glow for the evening's camouflage. This daily cycle keeps the bacterial community fresh and active, and it also seeds the environment with the same bacteria, increasing the odds that the next generation of squid can find them. Inside the light organ, the squid provides nutrients and a carefully shaped space that supports the bacteria's shining work. In return, the squid gains a reliable cloak against moonlit predators. It is a nightly tending of an internal garden, where pruning and regrowth keep the light steady. The idea that an animal can manage microbes like a crop on a daily rhythm makes symbiosis feel not just natural, but deliberately maintained. Bioluminescent fish often grow bacteria inside special light organs. In the open ocean, light can be as important as teeth. Some fish solve the darkness by hosting luminous bacteria in pockets of tissue designed just for them. These light organs are not random cavities. They can have reflectors to direct glow, shutters to hide it, and lenses to shape it, like living flashlights built into the body. The bacteria do what they do best, producing light through their chemistry, while the fish supplies food and protection. The fish then uses that glow in different ways depending on its lifestyle. Some lure curious prey closer. Some communicate with their own kind in the black water. Some break up their outline so predators struggle to judge distance. The partnership is so integrated that the fish becomes a moving platform for bacterial light, and the bacteria become part of the fish's behavior. It is a reminder that symbiosis is not only about nutrition. It can be about information, deception, and control of the dark. Some insects carry microbes that make them taste bitter to predators. For a small insect, being eaten can happen in a heartbeat, so defense has to be immediate. In some species, that defense comes from invisible allies living inside their bodies. These microbes can help produce chemicals that make the insect taste unpleasant or even mildly toxic, discouraging birds and other predators from taking a second bite. It is a strange kind of borrowed armor. The insect provides a stable home and transport, carrying the microbes wherever it goes. The microbes provide a chemical shield that the insect might not be able to make alone. Over time, this can shape predator behavior too. A bird that has one bad experience may learn to avoid that kind of insect, giving the whole population a better chance. In a sense, the microbes influence not only chemistry, but memory in another animal's brain. That is a remarkable reach for something microscopic. Symbiosis here becomes a lesson written on the tongue, turning an easy snack into a regrettable choice. Certain beetles depend on microbes to digest woody plant tissues. Wood is built to resist damage. It is fibrous, packed with tough compounds, and designed to stand against weather and time. Yet some beetles have larvae that tunnel through wood as if it were soft bread. The secret is not just strong jaws, but an internal support team. Microbes in the beetle's gut help break down stubborn plant materials into smaller, usable pieces, unlocking energy that would otherwise pass straight through. This can allow larvae to grow in places with little competition, because many animals cannot use wood efficiently. It can also shape the beetle's role in the ecosystem, speeding the breakdown of fallen branches and dead trees. In some cases, beetles even carry their helpful microbes from one generation to the next, ensuring the right digestive partners are always on hand. When you see a tiny hole in a log, you are seeing the outcome of a hidden collaboration where microbes do the chemical work and the beetle does the carving. Parasitoid wasps use viruses to disarm a host's immune defenses. A parasitoid wasp is tiny, but it can run one of nature's most unsettling heists. When a female lays an egg inside a caterpillar or another insect, the host's immune system should attack the intruder. Yet, in many species, that defense is quietly sabotaged. The wasp delivers not only an egg, but biological tools that confuse or suppress the host's immunity. And in some cases, those tools include viruses that work like microscopic accomplices. Instead of causing a classic disease, the virus helps rewrite the host's internal rules so the wasp larva can survive and develop. The host continues feeding and growing for a while, unknowingly nourishing the very thing that will later destroy it. It is grim, yet astonishingly exact. This is symbiosis turned into strategy, where a virus, a wasp, and an unlucky host are woven into a three-way interaction that feels like espionage at an insect scale. Some plants enlist bodyguard insects by offering sweet nectar as payment. A plant cannot run from danger. It cannot swat a hungry mouth or chase away a leafcutter, but it can outsource protection. Many plants secrete sugary nectar outside their flowers, not for pollination, but to reward protective insects. Ants and other defenders patrol stems and leaves, drawn by these easy meals. When an herbivore shows up, the guards react quickly, biting, stinging, or simply becoming such a nuisance that the attacker retreats. The plant is, in effect, purchasing security with sugar. This creates a constant living shield that is far more responsive than thorns alone. The clever part is the economics. A small investment in nectar can prevent a massive loss of leaf tissue. In some cases, the plant can even adjust how much it offers when damage begins, increasing payment as the threat rises. It is a quiet marketplace where energy becomes currency and protection becomes a service. Mycorrhizal fungi extend plant roots, trading minerals for sugars. Beneath a forest floor, roots are not working alone. Many plants partner with fungi that wrap around or grow into their roots, forming a living bridge between soil and plant. The fungal threads are far thinner than roots, and they can slip into tiny pores in the ground the roots cannot reach. There, they gather scarce resources like phosphorus and other minerals, and sometimes water, then pass them into the plant. In exchange, the plant delivers sugars made in its leaves, feeding the fungus with the energy of sunlight. This trade can dramatically change a plant's chances, especially in poor soils. It can also shape which plants thrive where, because different fungi specialize in different conditions. The partnership is so common that many landscapes depend on it without anyone noticing. When you see a tree standing tall, it is not just a trunk and leaves. It is also an underground collaboration where fungi act like an expanded root system that the plant could never grow on its own. Fungal networks can connect many plants, moving carbon and signals. Imagine a neighborhood where households can pass resources through shared wiring beneath the ground. In many ecosystems, fungal threads weave through soil and link the roots of multiple plants, creating networks that can move materials from one place to another. Carbon, carried in plant sugars, can flow into the network, and sometimes onward to other plants, including seedlings shaded by taller neighbors. The network can also carry chemical messages. When one plant is attacked by insects, signals can spread through the fungal web, and nearby plants may shift their defenses in response. This does not make the network a conscious brain, but it does make it a powerful communication and transport system. The fungus benefits because it gains access to multiple sugar sources. The plants benefit because they gain reach, awareness, and sometimes support. It is easy to walk through a forest and think the trees are separate. Underground, many are linked by living threads that turn the soil into a kind of shared infrastructure, quietly coordinating life above. Orchids can't sprout without fungi feeding their tiny seeds. Orchid seeds are astonishingly small, more like dust than the kind of seed you can hold between your fingers. That tiny size helps them travel on the wind, sometimes over long distances, but it comes with a cost. Many orchid seeds carry almost no stored food, which means they cannot easily power the first steps of growth on their own. Their solution is a fungal partner. In the soil, certain fungi can enter the germinating seed and provide sugars and nutrients, essentially feeding the orchid during its most vulnerable stage. Only then can the seedling begin building the structures it needs to survive. This makes orchid life feel like a secret handshake. The seed can land in the right place with the right moisture and still fail if the right fungal partner is absent. It also adds wonder to every blooming orchid you see. Each one began as a near weightless speck that needed an unseen helper to wake up and become a plant. Some pines need fungal partners to colonize new soils. When a pine seedling tries to establish itself on raw, disturbed, or nutrient-poor ground, it faces a brutal challenge. The soil may hold little phosphorus or nitrogen, and water may be hard to capture. Many pines meet this challenge by forming close relationships with fungi that sheathe their roots and extend far into the surrounding soil.
These fungal partners can act like scouts, exploring wide areas for nutrients and moisture, then delivering them back to the young tree. In return, the pine provides sugars, turning sunlight into the fuel that powers fungal growth. This alliance can be the difference between a seedling that withers and one that anchors a future forest. It also helps explain why certain trees can spread into harsh environments after fires, landslides, or glacial retreat. The pine does not conquer new land alone. It arrives with the potential for partnership. And when the right fungal allies are present, the soil becomes less of a barrier and more of a foundation. Seaweed and fungi can form marine lichens on rocky coasts. On wave-battered shores, life has to endure drying winds, salt spray, and sudden soaking. In some of these harsh coastal zones, partnerships appear that resemble lichens, but with a marine twist. Certain fungi can team up with photosynthetic partners that live in or near the sea, including seaweeds or other algae, forming crusty, resilient communities on rocks. The fungus provides structure and protection, helping hold moisture and shield the photosynthetic partner from extremes. The photosynthetic partner captures light and supplies energy, feeding the whole unit. Together, they can occupy places that are too exposed for many organisms to handle. Right at the boundary between land and sea. This is symbiosis as coastal engineering, turning bare stone into living surface. It also reminds us that partnerships are not limited to forests and fields. Even in the spray zone, where conditions swing from salt water to sun-baked dryness, life finds ways to cooperate and persist. Lichens can pioneer bare rock, slowly helping build soil. When fresh rock is exposed by a retreating glacier or a landslide, it can look like a lifeless beginning. Yet lichens often arrive early, clinging to the surface like patient settlers. They do not need deep soil because they can draw moisture from rain and air, and they can survive long dry spells by going dormant. Over time, they help break down the rock itself. Their growth can wedge into tiny cracks, and the chemistry of their bodies can slowly loosen minerals from stone. As lichens die and regrow, they add organic material, trapping dust and forming the first thin layer that other life can use. This is slow work, measured in years and decades, but it is foundational. Lichens turn rock into possibility. They are not loud or fast, yet they change landscapes by creating the first foothold for mosses, grasses, and eventually larger plants. Symbiosis here becomes the opening act of an ecosystem, writing the first lines of the story that will later include forests and animals. Cyanobacteria in lichens can fix nitrogen for the whole partnership. Some lichens include a third player that brings a special skill. Cyanobacteria can take nitrogen gas from the air and convert it into usable forms, a process called nitrogen fixation. For the lichen, this is like gaining access to a nutrient that is abundant but locked away. In environments where soil is thin or nutrients are scarce, that ability can be acquired superpower. The cyanobacteria receive shelter and a stable home within the lichen structure. The fungal partner provides protection and moisture control. The photosynthetic work is shared, and the fixed nitrogen supports growth. This teamwork can enrich the surrounding environment too, because nitrogen added by lichens can eventually enter the soil and support nearby plants. It is remarkable to think that on a bare rock or a tree branch, a tiny community is pulling essential nutrients from the air and turning them into living matter. The lichen becomes a miniature factory running on light, air,
and cooperation. Some salamanders host algae inside their tissues during development. There is a salamander whose early life can include a surprising guest. In some cases, green algae can live within the egg capsules and even within the tissues of developing embryos. This creates an intimate exchange. The algae can produce oxygen and sugars in the light, and those products may benefit the growing salamander. Meanwhile, the salamander's waste products can provide nutrients the algae can use. It is a delicate arrangement because the embryo is forming organs and immune defenses. Yet, it is also sharing space with another living thing. The idea of a vertebrate, even briefly hosting photosynthetic partners, feels almost like a crossover between pond life and plant life. It also hints at how flexible symbiosis can be. Partnerships do not always happen on skin or in guts. Sometimes, they appear in the earliest chapters of life, inside an egg, where development and collaboration unfold together. It is a quiet green mystery in still water, turning a nursery into a shared habitat. The algae living in coral are called zooxanthellae, and they can leave. Inside the tissues of many corals live tiny algae called zooxanthellae, and they are far more than passengers. They are partners that help power a reef. The coral offers a protected home and steady access to raw materials like carbon dioxide and waste nutrients. The algae use sunlight to make energy-rich compounds, and much of that energy can flow back to the coral, helping it grow and build reef structure. But this relationship is not guaranteed. When conditions become stressful, the algae can be expelled or can abandon the coral, and the coral suddenly loses a major source of fuel. It is like a city losing its power grid overnight. What makes this so haunting is how fast it can happen, compared to how long reefs take to build. A coral colony can take years to grow, yet its partnership can unravel in days or weeks if the environment shifts beyond its comfort zone. Coral bleaching happens when stressed corals lose their algae partners. When a coral loses its resident algae, the change is visible even to a casual snorkeler. The coral turns pale because much of its color came from those microscopic partners. What remains is the coral's own tissue, stretched over a bright white skeleton. So the reef looks ghostly, as if the color has been drained away. Bleaching is not always immediate death, but it is a serious crisis. Without the algae's constant energy supply, the coral must rely more heavily on capturing food from the water, which may not be enough to cover its needs. Prolonged stress can lead to starvation, disease, and die-off, especially when multiple stressors stack together. The heartbreaking part is that reefs are living architectures, supporting thousands of species. Yet, their stability depends on a partnership that is sensitive to changes in temperature, light, and water quality. Bleaching is a visual signal of symbiosis breaking under pressure, and it shows how a tiny relationship can determine the fate of an entire seascape. Reefs can sometimes recover by partnering with more heat-tolerant algae. Not all algae partners are the same, and that variation can become a lifeline. After a bleaching event, some corals can form new partnerships with different strains of symbiotic algae that handle warmer conditions better. This does not mean the coral is instantly safe, because heat-tolerant partners may provide less energy in cooler times, or the coral may grow differently with a new tenant. Still, the ability to switch partners can act like a form of biological adaptation, allowing some reefs a chance to rebound when the environment changes. It is as if the coral is searching for a new power source that can keep working in a hotter world. Recovery often depends on timing and local conditions. If stress eases quickly and a suitable algae community is available in the water, corals may regain color and energy. When that happens, it is a reminder that symbiosis is not only fragile, it can also be flexible, and flexibility can be survival. Humans use fermentation, a microbial partnership, to make bread and yogurt. Long before anyone could see microbes, humans learned to work with them. Fermentation is a kind of domesticated symbiosis, where we offer microbes a home and food, and they transform it into something new. In bread, yeast eats sugars and releases carbon dioxide, and those bubbles become the airy structure we love. In yogurt, bacteria reshape milk, producing acids that thicken it and create that tangy flavor. What feels almost magical is that these transformations are not just convenient, they can make foods easier to digest, change how long they last, and create textures that our own cooking alone cannot easily mimic. You can think of fermentation as a conversation between human intention and microbial metabolism. We control temperature, time, and ingredients. The microbes do chemistry at a level we cannot do by hand. The result is a partnership that has fed families for thousands of years, turning simple staples into foods with personality, comfort, and history. Cheese flavor comes from communities of microbes working in succession. A wheel of cheese is not a single recipe frozen in time. It is a living process guided by shifting microbial cast members. Early on, certain bacteria convert milk sugars into acids, setting the stage for curds to form and for the environment inside the cheese to change. Later, different microbes take over, breaking down proteins and fats into a cascade of new molecules that create aroma and flavor. This is why cheese can taste nutty, earthy, fruity, or sharp, even when it begins as the same basic ingredient. Some cheeses rely on surface communities that bloom on the rind, creating a protective layer and a distinct fragrance. Others develop internal cultures that ripen from the inside out. The most fascinating part is that timing matters. One group's leftovers become another group's feast. It is microbial teamwork arranged like a relay race, where each runner changes the landscape for the next. When you taste a complex cheese, you are tasting an ecosystem's history. Sourdough starters are stable ecosystems you can keep alive for years. A sourdough starter is a jar of flour and water that becomes over time a stable little world. Wild yeasts and bacteria settle in and form a community that can persist as long as it is fed. The microbes compete and cooperate, shaping the starter's smell, bubbles, and sourness. Each feeding is like renewing a habitat. Fresh flour brings new sugars. The existing community responds, growing, releasing gases, and acidifying the mixture in a way that discourages many unwanted microbes. This is why a healthy starter can be surprisingly resilient. It is also why different starters can develop distinctive personalities depending on local conditions, flour type, and routine. Some families keep starters for years, even passing them down like heirlooms. That is not just sentiment. It is continuity of a living microbial culture that influences flavor and texture in every loaf. With Salado, you are not just baking bread. You are caretaking an ecosystem that rewards patience. Kombucha cultures are mixed symbioses of yeast and bacteria. Kombucha begins with sweetened tea, and then a culture goes to work. Yeasts and bacteria share the job in a coordinated dance. The yeast breaks down sugars and produces compounds that the bacteria can use. The bacteria, in turn, create acids that give kombucha its bright tang and help protect the brew from spoilage. Over time, the bacteria also build a floating cellulose mat, often called a SCOBY, which is both a product of the microbes and a home for them. It is like a living raft that holds the community together. What makes this fascinating is how the flavor changes as the balance shifts. More time can mean more acidity. Temperature can change which microbes thrive. Small differences in process lead to noticeably different results, like tuning an instrument. Kombucha is symbiosis you can taste. It is a reminder that microbes are not only helpers inside bodies and forests, they can also be partners in a kitchen, turning a simple drink into a living, evolving craft. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria help legumes enrich soil for other plants. When legumes partner with nitrogen-fixing bacteria, the benefit does not stop with the host plant. Nitrogen is a key ingredient for growth, and many ecosystems are limited by how much usable nitrogen is available. In a legume's root nodules, bacteria convert nitrogen gas into forms the plant can use, helping the legume thrive even in poorer soil. Over time, some of that nitrogen enters the surrounding ground through root turnover, leaf litter, and decomposition. This can improve fertility for nearby plants that never formed nodules themselves. It is one reason legumes are often used in crop rotations and soil restoration, because they can help recharge the nutrient bank naturally. The beautiful part is that this is community-level symbiosis. One partnership can change the chemistry of an entire patch of land. It is like installing a slow, steady nutrient pump beneath the surface. And once the soil improves, the whole plant community can shift, inviting new species and supporting more life than before. Some grasses harbor fungi that make the grass less appetizing. In a grassy field, you might assume plants stand alone against hungry mouths. But some grasses have quiet allies living inside their tissues, fungi called endoites. These fungi can produce compounds that make the grass taste bitter or cause discomfort to insects and other herbivores. The grass gains protection, suffering less damage and holding on to more leaf area for photosynthesis. The fungus gains a home and a reliable supply of nutrients from the plant. Unlike many partnerships that are visible, this one is hidden within the blades themselves, like a built-in security system. It can influence which grasses dominate a pasture, because protected grasses may survive grazing pressure better than unprotected neighbors. It can also shape insect populations, nudging the balance of the ecosystem. The idea is simple but powerful. Instead of growing spines or thick armor, a grass can outsource chemical defense to a resident partner. Symbiosis becomes stealthy protection woven into green tissue that looks ordinary to the eye. Those fungal bodyguards can also harm grazing animals in large doses. A defense that discourages herbivores can sometimes spill over into unintended consequences. The same endophytic fungi that help grasses resist insects can produce compounds that in high enough amounts are harmful to grazing animals. Livestock may eat the grass as usual, unaware that the plant's internal chemistry has changed. Over time, the effects can include reduced weight gain, heat stress, or other health problems, depending on the specific compounds and conditions. This creates a complicated story. The partnership is beneficial for the grass and the fungus because it reduces being eaten and preserves their shared habitat. But for a grazing animal, it can turn an apparently nutritious meal into something risky. In agriculture, this means farmers must pay attention not only to the grass species, but to the invisible partners within it. It is a perfect example of how symbiosis can shape ecosystems and economies at once. A microscopic tenant can influence what a herd can safely eat and remind us that helpful relationships are not always universally helpful. Wolbachia bacteria can alter insect reproduction in astonishing ways. In the hidden inner world of insects, Wolbachia can behave like a puppeteer. These bacteria live inside cells and are passed from mother to offspring, meaning their survival depends on producing more infected females. To tip the balance, they interfere with reproduction in ways that can sound almost unbelievable. In some hosts, they cause embryos of one sex to fail. In others, they steer reproduction toward patterns that favor the bacteria's own spread. The outcome is that an insect's family line can be quietly rewritten by a microscopic passenger. This goes beyond simple curiosity. When reproduction shifts, whole populations can change, and those changes can ripple outward through ecosystems. It is a reminder that evolution is shaped not only by predators, food, and climate, but also by unseen partners with their own goals. Wolbachia shows that symbiosis can be intensely intimate, reaching into the machinery of inheritance itself and turning reproduction into a battlefield of interests. Some symbionts cause insects to produce far more females than males. In many species, the balance of males and females is like a biological thermostat kept near even. But some symbionts can reach in and nudge that dial. Because they are often passed through eggs, these microbes gain the most by ensuring more daughters are born, since daughters can carry them onward. They can achieve this through different tricks depending on the host. Sometimes, male embryos do not survive. Sometimes, development is redirected in ways that favor female outcomes. The surprising part is that the insect is not consciously choosing this. The shift can happen silently across generations until a population becomes heavily female. Bat can change mating patterns, competition, and even which genes become common. It can also create strange evolutionary pressures, where hosts evolve defenses against the manipulation, and symbionts evolve new ways to persist. In this tug of war, sex ratios become a living scoreboard. It is symbiosis with high stakes, because it reshapes the very structure of a population from the inside out. Endosymbion can protect hosts from viruses by crowding them out. Not every internal guest is a troublemaker. Some endosymbion act like microscopic bouncers. By occupying cells and using resources, they can make it harder for viruses to gain a foothold. Sometimes the effect is simple competition for space and materials. Sometimes the symbiote's presence primes the host's defenses, making viral growth slower or less successful. Either way, the host can become less vulnerable to certain infections, not because it evolved a new immune gene, but because it keeps a helpful resident. This is a fascinating twist on what it means to be protected. Protection can come from who you live with. In nature, this can influence which insects survive outbreaks and which populations persist through disease pressure. It also matters for humans because scientists have explored using such symbionts in pest control strategies, especially where insect-borne viruses threaten public health. Symbiosis can be a shield built from living occupancy rather than armor. Aphids can gain heat tolerance from specific bacterial partners. Heat can be a silent killer for small insects. A few degrees can mean disrupted development, damaged proteins, and lower survival. Some aphids get an unexpected advantage from particular bacterial partners that help them tolerate higher temperatures. The bacteria may assist by producing protective molecules, supporting stress responses, or stabilizing the host's internal chemistry during heat spikes. The result is that two aphids that look identical can respond very differently to the same hot afternoon, simply because their internal partners differ. This is a powerful idea. It means that adaptation to climate stress can sometimes be shared, almost like borrowing a trait rather than evolving it slowly from scratch. It also means that a changing environment can shift which symbiotic combinations thrive, altering pest outbreaks and plant damage patterns across seasons. In the aphid's world, survival can depend on an invisible ally packed into its body like a heat kit. Symbiosis becomes a shortcut to resilience, and resilience becomes a moving target as conditions change. Some stink bugs must pick up microbes from the environment as babies. Not all symbiotic partners are inherited like family heirlooms. Some must be acquired anew, and that makes early life feel like a critical mission. In certain stink bugs, young insects need specific microbes to digest their diet properly. They are not born with those helpers already installed. Instead, the microbes are collected from the environment soon after hatching. Sometimes from the surface of eggs or from carefully chosen places the mother prepares. Without the right pickup, the young may grow poorly or fail to thrive. This turns the world into a map of essential encounters. The insect's survival depends not only on finding food, but on finding the right microscopic companions that make the food usable. It also makes parenting, in a broad sense, more interesting. A mother can influence her offspring's future by ensuring the right microbes are available at the right moment. Symbiosis here is not just a relationship. It is a rite of passage, a necessary initiation into a life that depends on unseen collaborators. Certain bees rely on gut microbes to process pollen efficiently. Pollen is packed with nutrients, but it is also protected by tough outer layers that make it hard to digest. Some bees solve this with help from a specialized gut community that assists in breaking down pollen components and unlocking the food inside. These microbes can support digestion and may even influence how well bees extract energy from different plant sources. For a foraging bee, that efficiency can matter. It can affect stamina, growth, and the health of the colony that depends on each worker's flights. The gut community is also shaped by social life because bees interact closely, share food, and pass microbes among nestmates. This creates something like a shared internal toolkit tuned to their diet. When the microbial balance is disrupted, bees can become more vulnerable to stressors, and the whole colony can feel the consequences. It is striking to realize that pollination, one of the most important services in nature and agriculture, is supported by tiny digestive partners working quietly inside buzzing bodies. Human gut microbes can influence how medicines are activated or broken down. A pill does not act in a vacuum. After you swallow it, it enters a crowded chemical world filled with enzymes, acids, and microbes. Some gut microbes can change medicines by breaking them down, transforming them into new compounds, or altering how much reaches the bloodstream. That means two people taking the same drug might experience different effects, partly because their microbial communities differ. In some cases, microbes may reduce a medicine's potency. In others, they may contribute to side effects by producing unexpected byproducts. This makes the gut microbiome feel like an unseen pharmacist, sometimes helpful, sometimes complicating. It also helps explain why personalized medicine is not only about genes. It can also be about the living community you carry. Scientists are working to map these interactions, so treatments can be safer and more predictable. The wonder here is that you are not simply a patient receiving medicine. You are a whole ecosystem interacting with it, and the outcome can depend on the quiet chemistry of your resident microbes. Microbes can train the immune system to tolerate harmless stimuli. Your immune system has a delicate job. It must react fast to real threats, while staying calm around harmless things like food proteins, friendly microbes, and your own tissues. Part of learning that balance happens through daily contact with microbial partners. Signals from these microbes can help guide immune cells as they practice what to attack and what to ignore.
In a sense, tolerance is not just an internal decision. It is a skill shaped by relationship. When the microbial community is varied and stable, the immune system receives steady, nuanced training cues. When that community is disrupted, the training environment changes, and the immune system can become more reactive or confused. This is one reason scientists study early lysyl exposure and long-term immune health. It is not about microbes being simply good or bad. It is about them providing context. They help the immune system learn the difference between danger and normal life. Symbiosis becomes education delivered through chemistry repeated every day until calmness itself becomes a practiced response. Babies receive early microbial pioneers from birth and close contact. A newborn enters the world with a body ready to be colonized. In the first days and weeks, microbial pioneers begin to settle on skin and in the gut, arriving through birth, feeding, and everyday contact with caregivers and surroundings. These early arrivals can shape the environment for later microbes, making the first wave especially influential. Some microbes help digest milk components. Others interact with developing immune tissues, providing signals that guide early immune responses. Over time, a more complex community forms, but the opening chapter can set the tone, like laying the first stones of a foundation. This is why changes in early life experiences can shift microbial patterns, sometimes in ways researchers continue to explore. The key feeling here is wonder. From the beginning, a baby is not building health alone. The body is forming relationships immediately. And those relationships can become part of how digestion, immunity, and resilience develop. Symbiosis starts early, long before a child can speak, as a quiet inheritance of contact and care.
Antibiotics can disrupt microbial partnerships, sometimes for months afterward. Antibiotics can be life-saving, but they can also be like a wildfire moving through an internal forest. They target harmful bacteria, yet they often affect helpful communities too, especially in the gut. After a course of antibiotics, some microbial groups may shrink dramatically, and the community can take a long time to rebound. During that window, digestion may feel off, and opportunistic microbes may gain space that was previously occupied. Recovery is not always a simple reset. The community can return in a different balance, depending on diet, environment, and what survived the disruption. This is why doctors often emphasize using antibiotics thoughtfully, not because they are bad, but because they are powerful. The bigger idea is that health is partly built from relationships, and relationships can be shaken by strong interventions. Sometimes the body restores its microbial partnerships quickly. Sometimes it takes months for the ecosystem to settle again. Antibiotics remind us that when we treat one problem, we may also be reshaping the invisible community that helps keep everyday life running smoothly. Mitochondria began as bacteria that moved inside another cell long ago. Long ago, before animals and plants existed, a dramatic partnership changed the future of life. A larger cell took in a smaller bacterium. Normally, that would be the end of the story, with the bacterium digested and gone. But in this case, the guest stayed. Over time, it became the mitochondrium,
the energy-producing structure now found in almost all complex life. The host gained a powerful way to harvest energy from food. The guest gained safety and a steady supply of nutrients. As generations passed, the relationship tightened until the partners could not live separately.
The guest gave up many genes, relying on the host for support, while still keeping a small set of its own. This event helps explain why complex life could become so complex. More available energy meant more possibilities for larger genomes, specialized cells, and bodies with many parts. In a sense, your every breath depends on an ancient agreement that turned two lives into one shared engine. Chloroplasts began as cyanobacteria, giving cells the power of photosynthesis. Another ancient merger gave life a different superpower. A cell took in a cyanobacterium, a microbe already skilled at capturing sunlight and turning it into chemical energy. Instead of being destroyed, it became a permanent resident, evolving into the chloroplasts inside plants and algae today. With chloroplasts, cells could make their own sugars from light, water, and carbon dioxide, turning sunshine into growth. That ability reshaped Earth. It fueled forests, algae blooms, and the base of many food webs. It also changed the atmosphere over deep time because photosynthesis releases oxygen, and oxygen made new kinds of metabolism possible. Like mitochondria, chloroplasts still carry traces of their origin, including their own small DNA and a way of dividing that resembles bacteria. What feels so mind-opening is the idea that plant life is not just a single lineage that invented photosynthesis alone. It is the result of a partnership so successful, it became a defining feature of the green world we live in. Some modern amoebas still host bacterial power plants in real time. If ancient mergers sound like distant history, some creatures offer hints that similar stories can happen in the present. Certain amoebas host bacterial partners inside their cells that help with energy and metabolism, like internal assistants. These bacteria may process chemicals and provide usable compounds, giving the amoeba an advantage in environments where resources are limited or unusual. Meanwhile, the bacteria gain a safe home, protected from many threats in the outside world. It is not the same as becoming a mitochondrion, but it is a living glimpse of how close associations can begin. The host has to tolerate an internal tenant. The tenant has to adapt to life inside another cell. Over many generations, relationships like this can become tighter, with roles becoming more specialized and dependence growing. Watching these modern partnerships is like catching evolution mid-sentence. They remind us that symbiosis is not only something that shaped the past. It is an ongoing process that can still create new ways of living, one partnership at a time. Symbiosis can drive major evolution faster than mutation alone. Evolution is often pictured as slow change through small mutations stacking up over long time. That is real, but symbiosis adds another pathway. Instead of waiting to evolve a new ability from scratch, an organism can gain it by teaming up with a specialist that already has the skill. It is like hiring an expert rather than learning the trade yourself. A plant can gain better access to nutrients by partnering with fungi. An animal can gain light, chemicals, or protection by housing microbes. Over time, what begins as a partnership can become integrated so deeply that it changes anatomy, behavior, and even inheritance. This can open new niches quickly because the host can suddenly survive in places or diets that were previously impossible. Symbiosis also changes selection pressure. Natural selection can favor traits that help maintain the partnership,
like structures that house partners or signals that keep them cooperative. In that way, relationships become part of the evolutionary toolkit. Symbiosis does not replace mutation. It adds a powerful shortcut where cooperation can be a rapid route to innovation.
Some sea slugs keep algal chloroplasts working inside their own cells. Along certain coasts, a sea slug can eat algae and do something astonishing. Instead of simply digesting everything, it can retain the algae's chloroplasts, the tiny structures that perform photosynthesis, and keep them functioning inside its own tissues. The slug becomes a kind of hybrid, an animal carrying working plant machinery. This is not just storing food, it is keeping a tool alive. The chloroplasts continue capturing light and producing energy-rich compounds, and the slug benefits from that extra supply. To make this work, the slug must avoid breaking down the chloroplasts and must provide conditions that keep them stable. It also often matches its behavior to the relationship, spending time in well-lit areas like a creature that cares about sunshine. The sight of it can feel like a gentle science fiction scene. A soft-bodied animal borrowing the chemistry of a plant. It shows how flexible symbiosis can be and how boundaries between lifestyles can blur in the most unexpected places. Those slugs can survive longer without food by using borrowed sunlight. When food is scarce, most animals must search harder or slow down and endure. A sea slug with functioning chloroplasts has another option. It can stretch time. By relying partly on photosynthesis, it may survive longer between meals than a similar animal without that borrowed machinery. The effect is not unlimited, and it varies with species and conditions, but it is still remarkable. Sunlight becomes a supplemental ration, delivered quietly through the slug's own tissues. This changes what hunger means. It is no longer only about what the animal can find and eat. It is also about where it can rest, how much light it receives, and how well it can maintain its internal chloroplast guests. The slug is not a plant. It still needs nutrients and materials that light alone cannot provide. Yet the partnership can buy time, and time can be the difference between life and death during lean stretches. It is a perfect example of symbiosis as survival strategy. Turning the environment itself, the daily cycle of daylight, into a resource you can live on. Mixed symbioses can include 3 or more partners sharing one home. Some symbioses are simple pairs, but others are more like crowded households, with multiple partners shaping the outcome. A single host can carry different microbes that each perform distinct roles, such as digestion, defense, or nutrient production. Sometimes a partnership needs a third player to stabilize it, like an unseen mediator. In coral, for example, the coral animal and algaude are central. Yet bacteria and other microbes living on the surface and inside tissues can influence health and stress response. In insects, one symbiont may provide nutrients, while another offers protection from parasites. These layered relationships can be surprisingly dynamic. If one partner shifts, the others may change too, and the whole system can tip toward health or trouble. What makes multi-partner symbiosis so fascinating is that it resembles ecosystems more than marriages. There are alliances, competition, and trade-offs happening inside a single body. It reminds you that an organism can be a community, and that life often solves problems by assembling teams,
not just pairs. Each member contributing something different to the shared survival plan. Some bark beetles carry fungi that help overwhelm tree defenses. A tree is not defenseless. Many can produce sticky resins and chemical compounds that push invaders out or poison them. Bark beetles, however, have allies that help them break through those defenses. Some species carry fungal spores on their bodies, introducing the fungi into the tree as they bore under the bark. The fungi can spread through the wood and interfere with the tree's ability to fight back, sometimes clogging water transport or altering the chemical battlefield. That makes it easier for beetles to establish galleries and raise young. For the fungus, the beetle is both a taxi and a key, delivering it into fresh territory it could not easily reach alone. The result can be a coordinated assault where insect and fungus together are far more effective than either would be separately. This is symbiosis with a dark edge, not about harmony, but about combined force. It also shows how partnerships can reshape forests, turning tiny beetles into agents of large-scale change. Ambrosia beetles farm fungi inside wood tunnels as their crop. Some beetles do not eat the wood they drill. They use it as farmland. Ambrosia beetles carve tunnels and chambers, then cultivate fungi on the tunnel walls. The fungi grow on the wood, breaking it down and producing nutritious material the beetles and their larvae can eat. In this system, the beetle is an architect and a farmer. It carries fungal spores to new trees, plants the crop in fresh tunnels, and maintains the environment so the fungus thrives. The fungus benefits by gaining access to a steady supply of wood and a protected growing space. The beetle benefits by turning an otherwise low nutrition resource into a dependable food source. This is agriculture in miniature, hidden inside trunks operating out of sight. It echoes the fungal farming of leafcutter ants, but in a different habitat with different challenges and a different style of garden. It is a reminder that symbiosis can scale up into culture, creating behaviors that look like planning, even when they are guided by instinct. Certain plants depend on ants to spread their seeds. For a seed, travel is destiny. Landing a few feet away might mean shade, competition, or poor soil. Some plants solve this by recruiting ants as movers. Their seeds carry small, fatty attachments that ants find irresistible. An ant picks up the seed, carries it back to the nest, and removes the edible part. Then the ant discards the seed, often in a nutrient-rich waste area that is sheltered and ideal for germination. The plant gains dispersal and a better planting site. The ant gains a valuable food reward. What makes this so elegant is the precision of it. The seed is packaged with a built-in bribe that targets a reliable courier. Over time, this can shape plant communities because ants can move seeds to safer microhabitats and away from seed-eating predators near the parent plant. It is symbiosis as logistics. Tiny workers following simple rules end up planting the future of a forest floor, one carried seed at a time. That seed-carrying mutualism is called makoteri, and it is widespread. Maturi sounds like a rare, obscure trick, yet it shows up again and again across the world, especially in forests, where the ground is busy and dangerous for seeds. Many plants attach a tiny, fatty food package to the seed, a tempting reward that ants can smell and carry. This is not just transport. It is also a clever way to dodge seed predators and escape the shadow of the parent plant, where disease and hungry mouths often wait. Ant nests can be surprisingly safe drop points with sheltered soil,
bits of nutrients and fewer seed eaters prowling. In some habitats, this partnership can even help seeds persist through tough seasons, because nests buffer temperature and moisture swings. When you learn how common murmur a tree is, the forest floor starts to feel like a busy delivery network, with ants quietly shaping which plants get a good start in life. Some butterflies lay eggs only on plants with protective ant partners. For some butterflies, choosing where to lay an egg is not just about the right leaf. It is about hiring security for a baby that cannot run. In several groups, especially among the delicate blues, the caterpillars are more likely to survive when ants are nearby. The butterfly searches for plants where ants already patrol, because those ants can chase away predators and parasites that would otherwise snatch the caterpillar. This creates a strange triangle of dependence. The plant provides food. The caterpillar provides a reward that keeps ants interested. The ants provide protection that changes the odds of reaching adulthood. The butterfly's instincts become finely tuned to ant presence, sometimes even to particular ant species. It is a reminder that parenting strategies can be outsourced in nature. Instead of building a nest or guarding an egg, a butterfly can place its young into a living neighborhood watch, where tiny bodyguards may be the difference between vanishing and becoming winged. In those systems, ants herd caterpillars for sweet secretions. Once the caterpillar hatches, the relationship can become almost pastoral. Ants may surround it, touch it with their antennae, and encourage it to produce sugary droplets from special glands. The caterpillar becomes a moving food source, and the ants behave like keepers, escorting it as it feeds. Some ants will even carry a caterpillar to safer spots or shelter it during bad weather, because keeping it alive protects their sweet supply. The caterpillar, in turn, gains a private security team that can drive off attackers far larger than the ants themselves. What makes this especially fascinating is the communication. Ants and caterpillars can trade chemical signals, and in some species, the caterpillar produces cues that keep ants calm and attentive. It is symbiosis that resembles animal husbandry, except the livestock is a soft, leaf-eating larva, and the herders are tiny insects with a taste for sugar. Some parasites go further, manipulating their hosts to increase their own chances of spreading. A parasite's challenge is not just surviving inside a host, it is reaching the next one. Some meet that challenge by changing behavior, turning the host into an unknowing vehicle. This manipulation can be subtle, shifting daily routines, reducing fear, or altering where an animal chooses to rest. It can also be dramatic, pushing a host into risky places where predators are more likely to catch it. From the parasite's point of view, danger can be useful if danger opens the door to a new body. The methods differ. Some parasites influence hormones, others interact with the nervous system, and others trigger immune signals that spill over into mood and movement. The eerie part is that the host's choices can stop being entirely its own, shaped instead by another organism's life cycle. It is symbiosis with a sinister goal, where survival depends on steering someone else's behavior just enough to keep the parasite story going. Toxoplasma can change rodent behavior in ways that aid cats. Toxoplasma has a complicated life cycle, and one of its key destinations is a cat. In rodents, infection can shift behavior in ways that seem almost designed to increase the chance of being caught. Instead of avoiding cat scents with normal caution, infected rodents may become less wary, and in some studies, they show altered responses that make risky exploration more likely. For the parasite, that risk can be the whole point. because reaching a cat allows it to reproduce sexually and complete a major stage of its life cycle. Inside the rodent, the parasite can form tissue cysts, including in the brain, and it may influence chemical signaling linked to fear and reward. The details are still an active area of research, but the overall pattern is a chilling example of how a microscopic organism can tilt the behavior of a much larger animal. It turns a predator-prey relationship into a stepping stone, and it makes the idea of free will feel a little less absolute. Rabies alters behavior too, showing manipulation can be deadly and direct. Rabies is one of the most frightening examples of how an infection can change behavior, because its changes are tightly aligned with spread. The virus travels through the nervous system and can cause agitation, confusion, and aggression, increasing the likelihood of biting.
Biting is the virus's exit strategy, sending saliva into a new host through broken skin. Rabies can also cause painful difficulty swallowing and intense thirst, which can lead to the unsettling appearance of avoiding water. The tragedy is that these symptoms are not random damage. They help transmission. The host becomes restless and reactive, more likely to roam, more likely to attack, and therefore more likely to pass the virus on. It is not a partnership in any warm sense, yet it is still a biological relationship where one organism shapes the behavior of another to meet its own needs. Rabies makes the dark side of symbiosis feel stark. Sometimes connection spreads not help but harm. Many pathogens evolve from close associations that turned parasitic. Not every dangerous microbe began as a clear villain. Many pathogens likely started as harmless companions, living on or within hosts without causing major trouble. Over time, changes in environment, host defenses, or microbial genetics can shift the relationship. A microbe that once fed quietly on leftovers might gain the ability to invade tissues, evade immune responses, or exploit inflammation. When that happens, a familiar resident can become an opportunist. This is one reason some infections come from organisms already present on the body or in the environment around it. The border between normal life and disease can be thinner than we like to admit. It also means that evolution is constantly testing new strategies. If exploiting a host increases a micro spread, those traits can be favored even if the host suffers. Thinking of pathogens as former neighbors changes the story. It is not always an invasion from nowhere. Sometimes it is a relationship that drifted slowly and quietly into conflict. Some bacteria switch between friendly and harmful depending on the host. Some microbes are best described as conditional allies. They can live peacefully for years, even providing benefits like blocking space from more dangerous invaders. Yet under the wrong conditions, they can cause disease. A cut, a weakened immune system, a change in oxygen levels, or a shift in nutrient availability can turn a calm resident into an aggressive grower. This is not necessarily because the microbe suddenly decides to be bad, but because the environment changes what traits are advantageous in a stable habitat. Cooperation may pay. In a disrupted one, rapid expansion may pay instead. This idea helps explain why the same species of bacteria can be harmless in one person and problematic in another, or harmless in one body site and dangerous in another. It also underscores how much symbiosis depends on context. The relationship is not fixed in stone. It is a living balance, sensitive to the host's condition and the microbe's opportunity.
A microbiome can act like an ecosystem with predators and prey. Inside a gut, a mouth, or on skin, microbes do not simply sit side by side. They compete, cooperate, and sometimes hunt. Some bacteria release toxins that target rival strains, carving out territory like chemical warfare in miniature. Others specialize in consuming the byproducts of neighbors, turning waste into food in a chain of dependency that resembles a food web. There are also microbial predators in a broad sense, such as protozoa that can graze on bacteria, shaping which species become abundant. Even without true hunting, resource competition creates winners and losers, and the balance can shift quickly when diet or stress changes the available fuel. This is why a microbiome can be stable for long periods, then suddenly reorganize like a forest after a storm. Thinking of your microbiome as an ecosystem makes it easier to understand why small changes can have big effects. You are not managing a single germ. You are living with a whole community of interactions.
Bacteriophages inside you prey on bacteria, shaping the whole community. Among the most abundant life forms on Earth are bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria. In your body, they're part of the invisible drama, attaching to bacterial cells, injecting genetic material, and replicating until the host bursts or is altered. This can keep bacterial populations in check, like a shifting pressure that prevents any one group from dominating for too long. Some phages lie low, embedding in bacterial DNA and waiting, quietly changing what their host can do, including how it competes or defends itself. Bacteria respond with their own defenses, including molecular systems that recognize and cut viral genetic material, creating an ongoing arms race at microscopic scale. The result is that the bacterial community is not shaped only by food and space, but also by viral predation and viral bargains. When you imagine symbiosis, you might think of two partners helping each other. Phages add another layer, because even helpful bacteria live under constant viral pressure that can reshape the entire ecosystem. The virome. Your resident viruses can be part of normal health. When most people hear the word virus, they think of sickness. But your body also hosts a viro, a collection of viruses that can be present even when you feel perfectly well. Some infect bacteria instead of human cells, and by controlling bacterial numbers, they can indirectly shape digestion, inflammation, and which microbes get to dominate. Others may quietly coexist with you, held in check by your immune system, like background residents in a crowded city. This does not mean every virus is harmless. It means the story is more complicated than enemy versus victim. Health can include a steady, managed relationship with viral life. Researchers are still mapping what a typical virome looks like and how it changes with age, diet, and environment. The fascinating takeaway is that you are not just living with bacteria and fungi. You are also living with viruses, and some of them may be part of the balance that keeps your internal ecosystem stable. Some symbiosis are inherited, passed from parent to offspring, like traits. Some partnerships are so important that they get built into the next generation. Instead of a young animal or plant having to hunt for the right partner each time, the partner is delivered directly from parent to offspring. This can happen through eggs, through specialized tissues, or through close contact that reliably transfers the right microbes. The advantage is obvious. The offspring begins life with a proven toolkit already installed. Whether that toolkit helps with digestion, defense, or nutrition. Over a long time,
Inherited symbiosis can become extremely tight because each partner's success is linked to the other's reproduction.
That can lead to deep dependence, where the host cannot thrive without its inherited companions, and the companions cannot survive outside the host's lineage. It is inheritance, but not just of genes. It is inheritance of living relationships. When you think of evolution, you might picture traits passed down, like eye color or size. Symbiosis shows that entire communities can be passed down too. Others are acquired fresh, meaning partners must find each generation. Not every symbiotic relationship comes with a guaranteed handoff. In many species, each new generation has to find its partners in the world, like moving into a new home and assembling the right set of roommates. A young animal may pick up microbes from food, soil, water, or social contact. The timing can be crucial because early arrivals can shape which later partners can settle. This makes the environment part of inheritance, because a healthy habitat can supply the right allies, while a disrupted one may not.
It also makes symbiosis more flexible.
If conditions change, acquiring partners from the environment can allow an organism to form new relationships that are suited to the moment. But flexibility comes with risk. If the right partners are rare, the young may struggle. This type of symbiosis turns development into a quest, where survival depends not only on what you are, but on who you meet early enough to matter. Symbiosis can be a form of division of labor across species. One of the most efficient ways to solve a hard problem is to share the work. Symbiosis often looks like division of labor, where each partner specializes in what it does best. One might gather energy, another might process nutrients, another might provide defense. Instead of carrying every tool inside one body, life can spread tasks across multiple bodies and then connect them through trade. This can be more efficient than evolving every capability alone, because specialists can be extremely good at their job.
It also allows partners to adapt in different directions.
If the environment changes, one partner may evolve a better way to capture resources, while the other evolves a better way to house and manage the relationship. Over time, this can create systems that feel almost engineered, with reliable roles and predictable exchanges. The result is that an organism's abilities can be partly outsourced. Your survival does not have to rely only on your own genes and tissues. It can also rely on what your partners do for you and what you do for them in return. Some crabs wear seen enemies as living armor. In the ocean, being small can mean being edible. Some crabs respond by turning another animal into a shield. They pick up sea anemones and hold them on their claws, or place them on their shells like living gloves. The anemone's stinging cells can discourage predators that might otherwise grab the crab. The crab gains protection it did not grow itself.
The anemone gains transport, which can bring it to new feeding opportunities and help it avoid being left behind in a poor spot. Watching it is oddly intimate, like seeing one creature dress itself in another. It also shows how behavior can be part of symbiosis. This is not a passive relationship where partners simply happen to touch. The crab actively chooses and positions its partner, and the partner's weaponry becomes part of the crab's defense system. In a world where armor is usually built from shells and spikes, this is armor made of living, stinging tissue.
Hermit crabs trade mobility for protection by carrying stinging partners. A hermit crab already lives in a borrowed shell, but some go further and carry extra defenders along for the ride. They may place stinging sea anemones on the shell's surface, creating a moving fortress that is unpleasant to bite. The hermit crab gains a safer home, and the anemone gains mobility and access to food scraps stirred up by the crab's travels. There's even a sense of maintenance. Some hermit crabs will move their anemones to a new shell when they upgrade homes, as if relocating trusted guards to a better apartment. That behavior turns the partnership into something lasting, not a one-time accessory. The trade-off is that carrying extra passengers can add weight and complexity, yet the protection may be worth it in predator-rich waters. This relationship is a vivid reminder that symbiosis can be practical. It is not always about chemistry inside cells. Sometimes it is about who you bring with you into danger and how you turn a home into a defended space. Certain fish live among urchin spines to avoid predators. Sea urchins look like living pincushions, and most predators approach them with caution. Some small fish use that fear as a shelter. They weave among the spines, slipping into spaces that larger hunters cannot reach safely. The urchin becomes a spiky barricade, a place where a fish can rest, hide, and sometimes even raise young with a little more security. The fish may provide benefits in return, depending on the species, such as nibbling on parasites or cleaning bits of debris that settle on the urchin. Even when the benefit to the urchin is slight, the relationship can still be important because it alters who survives in that section of reef. A predator may approach, pause, and then drift away, leaving the fish unharmed simply because it chose the right neighbor. This is one of the most basic and elegant forms of symbiosis. It is about shape and fear. It transforms a dangerous body into a refuge, showing how shelter can be borrowed from another living being. Pistol shrimp and gobies work together like a tiny two-species team. In the sand and rubble of a reef, a pistol shrimp can dig and maintain a burrow, but it lives with a constant challenge. Its vision is weak, and danger can appear quickly. A goby fish solves this by serving as a lookout, hovering at the entrance and scanning for threats. The shrimp keeps one antenna in contact with the goby, and that touch becomes a simple line of communication. When the goby signals alarm, both retreat. When the area is safe again, the shrimp returns to digging, while the goby resumes its watch. What makes this partnership feel so compelling is how it resembles teamwork you might see on a job site. One partner is the builder, one partner is the security. Together, they create a safer home than either could manage alone. The coordination is not complicated language. It is timing, touch, and trust repeated day after day. In a place where many lives are solitary and fast, this pair slows down to cooperate, and that cooperation becomes their advantage. Cattle egrets follow grazers. Catching insects, their herd kicks up. On a grassland, a large grazing animal changes the world with every step. It disturbs grass, shakes loose insects, and flushes small prey into the air. Cattle egrets have learned to treat this movement like a meal service. They walk alongside cattle, buffalo, and other grazers, watching carefully for insects startled into motion. The bird gains food with less searching. The grazer may gain a small benefit too, if some of those insects would otherwise bite, irritate, or carry disease. Even when the benefit to the grazer is modest, the association can still shape how both species use the landscape. The egret is not tied to one animal as a permanent partner in the way microbes are tied to a host. It is a flexible relationship based on opportunity and attention.
Yet it is still symbiosis in spirit, because one species' daily routine creates a resource another species can harvest. It turns a herd into a moving habitat, and the air above the hooves becomes a hunting ground.
Even sharks host raoras, hitchhikers that feed on scraps and parasites. A ramora looks like a fish with a built-in suction device, and it uses that tool to attach to larger animals, including sharks. The shark becomes a moving platform through the ocean, carrying the raora without the raora spending much energy on swimming long distances. In return, the raora gains access to meals. It can eat scraps from the shark's hunts and sometimes pick off external parasites or bits of dead skin. The shark may be mostly indifferent, but in some cases, the cleaning could offer a slight advantage, like a quick grooming service in open water. The relationship is also a lesson in design. The raora's body is shaped for attachment, with a modified structure on its head that grips without damaging too much, allowing it to ride for long stretches. This is symbiosis as travel and opportunity. It is not a tender partnership. It is practical and opportunistic, built on the simple truth that in the ocean, getting to food can be as hard as catching it, and a free ride can change everything. Some symbiotic bacteria help squids and fish avoid harmful bowfouling. In the ocean, surfaces are constantly under siege by would-be settlers. Algae, barnacle, larvae, and bacterial films can cling to skin, shells, and gills, a process called bowfouling that can add drag, irritate tissues, and invite infection. Some squids and fish fight back with help from microbial roommates. Beneficial bacteria can live on the skin or in mucus layers and release chemicals that discourage other microbes from sticking or growing. Think of it as a living, self-refreshing coating. Instead of the host having to manufacture every defensive compound alone, it relies on a community that does chemistry around the clock. This can be especially valuable for animals that swim constantly, where even a small increase in drag can mean more energy burned for every movement. It also means health is partly a matter of neighborhood control. By supporting the right residents, the host makes itself a less welcoming place for trouble. Plants can choose better fungal partners by rewarding helpful ones more. A plant may look passive, but underground it can act like a careful manager. When fungi connect to roots and deliver valuable nutrients, the plant can respond by sending more sugars their way, effectively paying the best performers. If a fungal partner delivers little, the plant can reduce that flow, making the relationship less profitable for the fungus. This creates a feedback loop that can steer the partnership toward cooperation. It is not conscious choice, but it functions like one. The plant's carbon is limited, so it makes sense to invest where the return is higher. What makes this feel so fascinating is that it resembles a market, with incentives shaping behavior across species. Different fungi can compete for access to a plant's sugars, and plants can shift their support depending on soil conditions and nutrient needs. In that sense, the root zone becomes an economy where food, minerals, and trust are traded, and where good partners can be rewarded simply by getting fed. Cheaters exist, taking benefits without paying, and partners evolve defenses. Where there is cooperation, there is temptation to cheat. In symbiosis, a cheater is a partner that takes the reward but gives little back, like a contractor who keeps the payment and skips the work. A microbe might consume resources without providing protection. A mutualist might steal sugars without delivering nutrients. These cheats can spread if the short-term benefit is big, but they also create strong pressure for defenses. Hosts may evolve ways to detect poor performance and cuff off support. Cooperative partners may evolve mechanisms that make cheating harder, like requiring a specific exchange before benefits flow. Over time, this can produce remarkably sophisticated systems of control, even without any planning. It is an evolutionary arms race built around fairness. The beauty, in a strange way, is that cheating helps explain why stable symbioses are impressive. They persist because they have been tested. The ones that survive are the ones that can police the relationship, keeping cooperation from collapsing into pure exploitation. Symbiosis can stabilize ecosystems by spreading risk across partners. Nature is full of uncertainty. Drought arrives, food disappears, temperatures swing. Symbiosis can act like a stabilizer by spreading risk across different abilities. If one partner struggles under a particular stress, the other may still function well, buffering the system. A host can gain nutrients from a partner when resources are scarce. A partner can gain shelter when conditions outside are harsh. At the ecosystem level, these relationships can keep productivity from crashing entirely because energy and nutrients keep moving through alternative routes. It is a bit like having more than one engine in a boat. If one sputters, the other can still push you forward. This stabilizing effect can shape which habitats remain resilient after disturbance. It also helps explain why some environments, like reefs and forests, depend so heavily on partnerships. Their richness is not only about what lives there, but about how those lives are linked. When connections are strong and diverse, the whole system can absorb shocks and keep going. Some island birds lost predators and mutualisms there became unusually bold. On many islands, the cast of predators is thinner than on continents.
When danger fades, behavior can change in ways that seem almost unbelievable. Birds may become less wary, spend more time on the ground, or feed in the open with little urgency. In that calmer setting, partnerships can also shift. Some mutualisms become unusually direct because there is less risk in lingering, approaching, and trusting. A bird might closely attend large animals or interact with plants in ways that would be too risky under constant threat. The result can be relationships that look almost fearless, as if the rules of caution have been rewritten. But that boldness has a fragile side. When new predators arrive, often introduced by humans, the old relaxed strategies can become dangerous overnight. What is fascinating here is how symbiosis is shaped not only by partners, but by the background level of fear in a place. Remove fear, and cooperation can step into the open. Add fear again, and the same behaviors can suddenly become costly. In deserts, plant root microbes can help tolerate drought and salt. Desert plants live on a knife edge. Water arrives in brief pulses, and salts can build up in the soil until roots struggle to take up moisture. Some plants gain an advantage through microbial partners around and within their roots. These microbes can help plants access water more efficiently, influence root growth patterns, or produce compounds that support stress responses when dehydration hits. Others can help moderate the impact of salinity by altering the chemistry right at the root surface. The result is not a miracle that makes deserts easy, but a set of small boosts that can determine who survives a long, dry stretch. What makes this so compelling is the idea that resilience can be shared. A plant does not have to solve drought alone with thicker leaves or deeper roots. It can also rely on the chemistry and services of a microbial community that has evolved to endure the same harsh soil. In a landscape that looks empty,
Symbiosis is often busy at ground level. In the Arctic, lichens feed reindeer, linking symbiosis to whole food webs. In the Arctic, winter can lock the land under snow and ice. And yet, large animals still find a way to eat. Lichens, those tough partnerships of fungus and photosynthetic life, are a key food source for reindeer and caribou in many regions. Because lichens can grow slowly on rocks and tundra soils, they store energy in places where other plants are scarce or dormant. When reindeer dig through snow to reach them, they are tapping into a symbiosis that quietly captured light months earlier. This creates a striking chain of dependence. A fungus and an alga cooperate to make a lichen. The lichen supports a grazing mammal. That grazer supports predators, scavengers, and human communities. It is a whole food web resting in part on a partnership you can scrape gently from a stone. The Arctic teaches that symbiosis is not a niche curiosity. It can be foundational. The tiny teamwork can scale up into migrations, cultures, and survival in extreme cold. Certain invasive species succeed by bringing their microbial partners with them. When a species invades a new habitat, it faces a hidden challenge. The new place may not contain the microbes it depends on for nutrition, defense, or growth. Some invaders overcome this by arriving with their partners already in tow, carried in roots, guts, seeds, or soil stuck to bodies and cargo. That head start can be powerful if the invader's microbes help it extract nutrients, resist local pathogens, or tolerate stress. The invader may establish quickly, while native species struggle. In this way, invasion is not always a solo performance. It can be a team arriving together. There is also a darker twist. Introduced microbes can spread beyond their original host and disrupt local microbial communities, changing soils and plant health in ways that ripple outward. What looks like one species moving is often an entire portable ecosystem relocating. Symbiosis turns invasion into a package deal, where the success of one organism depends on the invisible allies it carries across oceans and borders. Symbiosis can influence speciation when partners shape who can survive where. Sometimes what separates one species from another is not only geography or genetics, but partnership. If a population depends on a particular symbiont to digest a food, resist a toxin, or tolerate a climate, then its range and lifestyle become tied to where that partner exists. Over time, groups that associate with different partners can diverge. They may use different habitats, breed at different times, or prefer different foods, simply because their symbiotic toolkit pushes them in different directions. Those differences can reduce into breeding, and the populations can gradually split into distinct species. In that sense, symbiosis can act like an invisible border on a map, shaping who thrives where and who mates with whom. It also means that evolution is not always a story of one lineage changing in isolation. It can be a story of linked lineages shifting together or splitting apart when their partners differ. Speciation can begin as a change in relationships, then harden into a change in identity. Some animals carry entire miniature ecosystems on their skin. Skin is not just a boundary. For some animals, it is a landscape. Amphibians, for example, can host diverse microbial communities on their moist skin, and those communities can influence how well the animal resists disease. Marine animals can carry films of microbes that change how water flows across the body, how odor disperse, and which other organisms attempt to attach. Even large animals can become traveling habitats, with tiny residents living in creases, pores, and mucus layers. What makes this so mind-expanding is scale. A single body can contain multiple habitats, each with its own conditions and residents, like different neighborhoods in one city. These skin ecosystems can shift with season, stress, and environment, and they can play roles in protection and communication. In some cases, the host may even encourage certain microbes by producing specific compounds that feed them. So an animal is not only an individual moving through an ecosystem, it is also a moving ecosystem itself, carrying a living coat of microscopic life that can shape its survival. Sloths host algae and moths in their fur, forming a moving habitat. A sloth's fur is not just a coat, it is a tiny traveling ecosystem. In the grooves of those hairs, moisture can linger and algae can grow, tinting the sloth a faint green that helps it blend into leafy forests. That camouflage can matter when you move slowly and spend much of your life hanging in plain sight. But the story gets even stranger. Some sloths also host moths that live in their fur, turning the sloth into a flying apartment complex. The moths gain shelter and a place to spend their days. The sloth may benefit indirectly if the moths help fertilize the algae through their life cycle, boosting the green growth that supports camouflage. It is a layered partnership, fur becoming habitat, habitat shaping survival. A single animal becomes a small landscape, carrying plant-like life and insect life wherever it goes, like a slow-moving island drifting through the canopy. Whales host barnacles, but tell stories of migration routes. When you see barnacles clinging to a whale, you are seeing hitchhikers that can last for months. These crustaceans attach and grow as the whale travels, and their presence becomes a kind of living travelogue. Because whales migrate across enormous distances, a barnacle on a whale is exposed to a changing world, from warm breeding areas to colder feeding grounds. The barnacle gains constant water flow and access to food particles delivered by the whale's motion. The whale usually pays little attention, though heavy loads can add drag or irritate skin in some cases. What makes this relationship feel almost poetic is the way barnacles can help scientists identify species, individuals, and movement patterns. Because different whales host different communities and growth histories, a barnacle is not just a passenger. It is evidence of a journey. It reminds you that migration is not only a story of one animal crossing oceans, it is also a moving habitat carrying other lives along, leaving clues written in shells. Sea turtles carry hitchhiking organisms that change their drag and health. A sea turtle's shell can become a platform for an entire crowd of hitchhikers, from small barnacles to algae and other encrusting life. In calm water, that might seem harmless, but in the ocean, physics matters. Extra growth can increase drag, forcing the turtle to spend more energy with every stroke. It can also create rough spots that trap more organisms, building a cycle of fouling that grows heavier over time. Yet, the story is not always purely negative. Some hitchhikers may be mostly neutral, and a few may even help by discouraging more harmful settlers, depending on who arrives first. For the hitchhikers, the turtle is a gift, providing transport through nutrient-rich waters and a hard surface in a world where stable surfaces are limited. For the turtle, it is a constant negotiation between carrying passengers and staying streamlined. This relationship makes you notice how health can be shaped by something as simple as what sticks to you, and how a moving animal can become a floating island for other species. The human mouth is a symbiotic biofilm, not a sterile space. Your mouth is one of the most densely populated habitats in your body. Microbes gather on teeth, gums, and tongue in organized communities called biofilms. These biofilms are not just random slime. They are structured neighborhoods where different species live in layers, exchanging nutrients and shaping the local chemistry. Some microbes help keep the system balanced by taking up space that might otherwise be claimed by more harmful invaders. Others break down food particles and produce acids, which can be a problem for enamel if the balance tips too far. Saliva adds another layer, washing, feeding, and buffering, while your immune defenses watch closely. What makes this so fascinating is that your daily habits, eating, drinking, brushing, change an entire ecosystem several times a day. The mouth becomes a place where symbiosis is easy to see when you look closely, because the line between a healthy community and harmful overgrowth is very thin. You're not just cleaning your mouth, you're tending a living landscape that supports health when it remains in balance. Your skin microbiome also helps block pathogens by occupying space. Picture trying to move into a city where every apartment is taken, every doorway monitored, and every resource already claimed. That is what your skin can feel like to many would-be pathogens. The microbes that normally live on your skin fill space, use available nutrients, and shape chemical conditions that make it difficult for invaders to gain a foothold. Some even produce compounds that directly suppress competitors. This process is known as colonization resistance, and it is one of the simplest ways symbiosis protects you. Your skin supplies the habitat through oils, sweat, and shifting moisture. The microbes supply a living barrier, turning exposed skin into carefully guarded territory. The balance varies by location, too. A dry forearm is not the same habitat as a moist armpit or an oily forehead, and each supports a different community. What makes this so compelling is that protection can come from presence, not from weapons, but from occupancy. Your microbes are not only passengers, they are bouncers, quietly defending the boundary between you and the outside world. Some symbioses are so tight that partners cannot live separately anymore. Some relationships begin as cooperation and end as fusion. Over many generations, partners can become so interdependent that separation is no longer possible. One may lose the genes needed to survive alone because the host provides those functions. The host may evolve structures and routines that assume the partner is always there. So life without it becomes fragile or impossible. In these cases, the partnership stops being a helpful add-on and becomes part of what the organism is. This is why certain microbial partners are passed reliably through reproduction, because the host cannot afford to start life without them. It is also why some symbions are found only inside their hosts, like a species that moved into a single house and never left. The fascination here is the way dependence rewrites identity. We often picture evolution creating independence, stronger bodies, better defenses, more self-sufficiency. But symbiosis shows another path. Sometimes the most successful strategy is to become incomplete alone, because together you are stronger than you could ever be apart.
Others are loose and opportunistic, forming only when it is useful. Not every symbiosis is a lifelong marriage. Some are more like short-term alliances that appear when conditions make them profitable. A fish may shelter near a stinging neighbor during a predator rush, then move on when danger passes. A microbe may live on a host during one season, then fade when the host's diet changes. These loose relationships can be surprisingly important because they add flexibility. If the environment shifts, an opportunistic partnership can form quickly without waiting for long evolutionary integration. It can also be low risk. If the partnership stops being beneficial, the host can shed the partner, and the partner can seek a new host. This creates a world of temporary bargains where proximity becomes advantage and timing becomes everything. The fascinating part is that these brief alliances still shape ecosystems. They can influence who survives a bad year, who finds food, and who avoids being eaten. Symbiosis is not always permanence. Sometimes it is a moment of usefulness, a quick collaboration that leaves both sides better off, at least for now. Scientists use symbiosis to design probiotics and sustainable agriculture tools. Once you start seeing symbiosis everywhere, it becomes tempting to work with it on purpose. Scientists study helpful microbes to design probiotics aimed at supporting digestion, recovery after illness, or specific health outcomes. The results can vary and are still an active area of research. In agriculture, the ideas can be even more tangible. Microbial inoculants can help crops access nutrients, tolerate stress, or resist certain diseases, reducing reliance on heavy chemical inputs. Some approaches focus on boosting beneficial fungi around roots. Others aim to encourage soil communities that support long-term fertility. The big promise is not a magic microbe that fixes everything.
It is a shift in thinking, treating farms and bodies as ecosystems, where relationships can be nurtured. This work is challenging because living systems are context-dependent. A microbe that helps in one soil may fail in another. But that challenge is part of the excitement. It is biology as partnership engineering, learning to cooperate with the same invisible forces that already run forests and reefs. Future space farming may rely on engineered microbial partners for closed habitats. In a closed space habitat, every resource matters. Water must be recycled. Waste must be transformed. Nutrients must be kept in circulation. Microbes are natural experts at recycling, and future space farming may depend on them as partners in keeping life support systems running. Imagine plants growing with carefully selected root microbes that improve nutrient uptake, or microbial communities that break down waste into safe fertilizer, closing the loop. In space, even small inefficiencies can accumulate. So a well-designed microbial system could be as important as the plants themselves. There is also the question of stability in a sealed habitat. You want microbial communities that stay predictable and safe, resisting unwanted blooms that could harm plants or people. That makes the challenge both scientific and ecological. You are not just growing food, you are maintaining a tiny biosphere. Symbiosis becomes a planning tool for survival beyond Earth. Turning microbes into quiet crew members that never sleep, always recycling, always converting, always making limited resources stretch farther. Symbiosis is a reminder that life thrives through connection, not isolation. After wandering through all these partnerships, the big picture becomes hard to ignore. Life is not simply a collection of independent creatures competing in separate lanes. It is a web of relationships where survival often depends on cooperation, exchange, and shared solutions. A body can serve as a habitat. A forest can act as a marketplace for nutrients. An ocean animal can become a traveling home for other species. Some partnerships are calm and mutually beneficial. Others are strained, conditional, or even risky. Yet the larger pattern remains the same. Connection creates opportunity. It allows organisms to accomplish things they could never manage on their own. From breaking down tough foods to enduring extreme environments, to forming ecosystems that support countless other lives, symbiosis also reshapes how individuality is understood. The boundary of a creature is not defined only by skin or shell. It can extend to the community it carries and the partners it relies on. In that sense, symbiosis offers a quietly reassuring lesson. Life endures not only through strength, but through relationship. In the subtle logic of nature, thriving is often a shared act. As we reach the close of our gentle journey through symbiosis, you can allow these ideas to settle like sand in clear water. We have wandered through a world where life rarely exists alone. Tiny partners living in coral can help build whole reefs. Invisible microbes can shape digestion, immunity, and even the way ecosystems breathe and recycle. We met unlikely teams, from ants and plants trading protection for food, to animals that borrow light, chemistry, or shelter by sharing space with another life. And we saw the full range of these relationships, from steady cooperation to uneasy bargains that shift with stress and time. If you're still awake and you'd like another calm adventure, you can choose the next video that's waiting for you on screen. And if these quiet science stories bring you comfort, you might like, subscribe, or leave a soft comment. It helps this little corner of curiosity reach more sleepy minds. But for now, you can loosen your jaw, let your shoulders soften. Allow each breath to arrive a little slower than the last. In and out, easy and unhurried. Somewhere beneath the surface of everything, life is always cooperating, always exchanging, always finding a way to continue. And tonight, you don't need to solve anything at all. You only need to rest and let your mind drift, carried by the quiet thought that connection can be a kind of strength. Sleep well and good night.